If we could get Dave to unmute, it would help.
Sorry, Bob. Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Seeing none. The previous minutes, was there any errors or omissions? Can I have a mover and seconder for the previous minutes then? Ketchabah, Marks, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
5-0, the motion is carried.
Okay. Petitions and delegations, we have none. We'll move on to presentations. Caroline is going to show us the video.
Right.
As council, we've been working to develop a strategic plan that will guide our actions for the remainder of the current county council term. The strategic plan is just a minute. The strategic plan is designed to act as a roadmap for serving, growing, and investing in this community. The plan seeks to align the county's effort and resources in support of the county's strategic goals. As part of the strategy, we've also developed an operational plan for staff, an action plan for council, and a performance measure framework to monitor our progress in achieving our goal. All actions of staff and council will be linked back to the strategic plan priorities contained in this plan from now until the end of 22. A key step in development of this strategy was the consultation and gathering of feedback from several different stakeholders. Council, county staff, local municipal partners, and the community at large were asked to provide input on council's direction moving forward. The goal of this consultation was to ensure that Elgin County is responsive to the needs of the broader community and to the strength, trust, relationship, and key stakeholders. Now that the development of this strategy is nearly completion, it's important Elgin County reveals the final result of the strategic development process and demonstrate to our residents and stakeholders that their voices were heard and their feedback was crucial to the development of our goals and priorities. Given the fact that COVID-19 has prevented us from holding public information sessions to present our strategic plan to the public and our stakeholders, council participation in the filming of a video where we explain our strategic goals and priorities and how we will achieve them. This video will be utilized in virtual presentation to our local municipal partners and stakeholders. We will be posted on our website and will be shared through our social media accounts. I would like to thank my fellow councillors for taking the time to participate in the filming of this video and for their considerable efforts in developing a plan that is clear and actionable. I'm very pleased to present the finished product. Okay, Caroline. The Elgin County Strategic Plan will provide a shared purpose and common direction for county councillors and staff. It will allow us to envision what we want in our future and proactively define the steps required to get there. This plan will be revised and reassessed over the course of the next 2 years to ensure it's in alignment with changing priorities, legislation, and requirements. The plan is divided into 3 goals: serving Elgin, growing Elgin, and investing in Elgin, and is further broken down into tangible strategic priorities, which will guide staff and council's actions for the remainder of this term of Elgin County Council.
As elected officials, our primary job is to serve you. That is why the 3 strategic goals we have set is to respond to community needs in a creative and sustainable way. To achieve this goal, we will focus on the alignment between your needs and the programs and services we deliver. We've already started this work. For example, we've embarked on a municipal service delivery review to obtain a detailed, evidence-based analysis of what we provide and how we provide it. We will use the results of this review to improve alignment and to also ensure that the delivery of our services is effective, reflects best practices, and avoids duplication. Ultimately, we're working towards streamlined processes that will give you the best customer service experience possible.
We are exploring different ways of addressing needs within our community. Collaboration with our 7 local municipal partners, crucial to ensure the success of Elgin County programs and services. We will work closely with our municipal partners to ensure that these needs are met through high-quality shared services that are delivered with consistency across the county in a manner that achieves economies of scale. The county will explore the role that it has to play in key local priority projects as identified by our municipal partners. There may be opportunities for the county to take the lead, be a supportive partner, or act as an advocate to senior levels of government. When we work together, we can accomplish a great deal.
In order to determine the needs of our community, we must build stakeholder trust through a continuous process of feedback and engagement. Through two-way communication, the county will gather important information about programs and services, providing the opportunities to implement continual improvement based on real-time feedback. We strive to be open and transparent in all we do and are now utilizing live streaming and other relevant technologies to make county council and committee meetings more accessible to the public. It is our goal to provide regular, relevant, and timely communications through a variety of accessible channels.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about the Elgin County Strategic Plan. One of our goals is to make sure that Elgin is the best place to live, work, and play. How we're going to do that is we want to facilitate growth by helping our citizens grow the economy, grow the residential areas, recognizing the diversity, the vibrancy, and the sustainability that's required. Some of the areas that we're going to be tackling are affordable housing, particularly for seniors, transit, and the internet. Two of the major initiatives to get us there are Terrace Lodge, which is one of the Elgin County homes for seniors in Elmer. We're undertaking a full renovation or enlargement of that facility, and a $33 million project begins this year, and we expect to break ground before Christmas. The other part that is critical is addressing the need for fast, reliable internet services throughout the entire county. Internet is as important now as having safe water or hydro or being able to heat your home in the winter. All the businesses, agro-businesses, or particularly even individuals, as the pandemic has proven, need to be able to have fast, reliable internet, and we now have a dedicated team working on that. We want to make sure that Elgin remains the place to live, work, and play.
We are actively planning for and facilitating commercial, industrial, residential, and agricultural growth in Elgin County. We are committed to working with our municipal partners to identify serviceable industrial lands and opportunities to encourage development. We have hired a full-time planner to assist with residential development applications and refine and modernize with land division committee processes. With the challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic, this focus on economic recovery and sustainability will be more important than ever. We are actively evaluating our economic development programs and practices to ensure that they are meeting the needs of the local municipal partners and small business community.
Elgin County is in a unique Carolinian life zone, including the third largest Carolinian forest in Canada. It also has over 100 kilometers of Lake Erie shoreline and an abundance of fertile soil. The county should actively engage in the protection of the natural environment in order to ensure the health, safety, and well-being of our residents, as well as the preservation of our agricultural way of life. This means establishing an environmental committee and taking a look at our own practices as a county to reduce our environmental footprint as an organization. We will encourage safe and environmentally friendly recreation and transportation through the update of our master cycling plan and identify opportunities to create healthy roadside habitats. In partnership with the town of Elmer and the city of St. Thomas, the county is developing a community safety and well-being plan that will help us reimagine emergency response in our communities and create a framework for a holistic approach that takes into account both community safety and individual well-being.
As Deputy Warden, it has been a privilege to participate in the development and implementation of Elgin County's strategic plan. This plan is a living document that will position Elgin County for future generations. Council's priorities established through the strategic plan will help establish a resource allocation map for the upcoming years, set financial and operating targets, and align the senior leadership team with Council's strategic priorities. Making responsible financial decisions on behalf of our ratepayers and making prudent investments in critical infrastructure are key priorities of County Council. The county is further developing and actively implementing its asset management plan to extend the life cycle of critical infrastructure and enhance the quality of our facilities to ensure that they can be safely accessed by the public. We are also improving the safety of our roads and bridges, notably with the construction of a new bridge in Port Bruce and the rehabilitation of the historic King George VI lift bridge in Port Stanley.
We will embrace new technologies and innovative processes to streamline and enhance the delivery of services using programs and software that make municipal operations more efficient, more easily accessible, and user-friendly. We will achieve efficiencies by migrating any remaining paper-based processes to virtual platforms, freeing up time and resources to better serve our communities. We have created a budget committee to modernize the budget process and ensure increased transparency and accountability to our ratepayers.
As a council, it is our responsibility to ensure that municipal services and programs are delivered efficiently and effectively. We will consider the decisions that we make through a lens of fiscal responsibility and clearly communicate the reasoning behind these decisions to our residents. We'll explore opportunities to develop synergies, realize economies of scale through shared services with our local municipal partners and neighboring communities, as recommended in the Municipal Service Delivery Review. We'll also continue to investigate creative ways to leverage our assets for increased revenue generation. It is our goal to optimize the use of our resources to support an affordable, healthy, and engaged community.
Thank you, Caroline. I want to compliment staff for creating this beautiful and video that shows the best Elgin has to offer. And I really want to compliment staff on that. It's really well done. Question is, how many takes did it take to have that 20-foot putt? Any questions or comments from council? Sally Glenn.
I think it was very well done, and I very much appreciate it, and I think it'll be a great resource. The one thing I did notice, one of the pictures is Port Stanley at least 5 years ago, because the silos are still there in the harbor.
Do we need a motion to receive and file? No? Okay. We'll move on to move into the committee of the whole. Mover and seconder, please. Martin and Jones, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jaguar.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, that motion is carried.
Thank you. Next, we have the Warden's activity report. Any questions or comments? Once again, another busy month. Mover and seconder, receive and file. McPhail. Ketchabah. All in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jaguar.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Michelle, you're doing the dietitian report?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. Warden. Before you is a report on the request for proposal for registered dietitian services at the county's long-term care homes and seeks council's approval to award the contract. So the Long-Term Care Homes Act requires that every home employ or contract for a registered dietitian to oversee both the nutrition care and the hydration programs for each of the homes. The current contract is expiring and a new RFP was recently issued, and that is attached as attachment 1 in the agenda. A complete plan takers list is attached to this report as attachment 2, and the evaluation committee is attachment 3. The firm selected by the evaluation committee is Erbschot Falls Dietetics Professional Corporation. which had the highest scoring qualified proposal and thus represented the best complete quality submission. The estimated total cost to provide the services is $89,000 per year, and funding for this service is provided by the Ministry of Long-Term Care. 3 recommendations are before council: that the contract for registered dietitian services at the County homes be awarded to Herbshot Folds Dietetics Professional Corporation for a 3-year term, and that staff be authorized to extend the contract for an additional 2-year term in accordance with the procurement policy, subject to satisfactory performance during the initial 3-year contract term, and that the warden and CEO be authorized to sign the contract. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Good, thanks, Michelle. Questions for Michelle on the dietitian report? Seeing none, mover and seconder for the recommendation, please. Jones and Martin, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. And Nancy, you're doing the next on the Brookshire Farm subdivision?
Yes, thank you, Warden. Good morning, everyone, and through you, Mr. Warden, to members of council. This report details the draft plan of subdivision known as the Brookshire Subdivision, which is located in Dutton. The plan consists of 72 single detached dwelling lots, 20 semi-detached dwelling lots, 1 stormwater management block, 1 future street, and 1 servicing walkway block, all serviced by the extension of Nancy Street, Lila Street, and 2 new streets. Staff are recommending approval of this plan of subdivision, subject to the attached conditions found in the council agenda, and I'm available for any questions anyone has.
Thank you, Nancy. Questions for Nancy on this subdivision? Seeing none, mover and seconder for the report, please.
Purcell.
Purcell, second by Marks, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French. Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. And Nancy, you're doing the official plan amendment?
I am, through you, Mr. Warden. This report is actually a reconsideration of a previous official plan amendment that council adopted back in March of 2020. Due to the COVID emergency, this notice of decision was required to be given notice again based on the termination of the emergency orders. But it was not completed in the allocated prescribed time as per the Act. Staff are therefore asking for a reconsideration and confirmation of the official plan amendment number 25. This will allow staff to reissue the notice of decision and ensure the Planning Act provisions have been met. I'm available for any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. Questions for Nancy on the plan of subdivision? Seeing none, mover and seconder for the recommendation. Ketchba. Jones, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Brian, are you doing the library curbside pickup?
Yes, I am, Mr. Warden. Good morning, Mr. Warden, through you to County Council. This report recommends to Council the next phase of the library's service plan relative to health and safety considerations that must remain in place as a result of COVID-19. Should Council approve our plan, we plan to partially reopen the interior of library branches in a very measured and cautious way under an approach that we are calling Curbside Plus. This means we will continue to facilitate the majority of our loans of library materials through a curbside approach, which have been running since June, plus add limited interior services as outlined in the report. Most of what we are proposing to offer at this time was authorized under phase 2 of the provincial framework for reopening the province, with the exception of the Browse and Go service, which was authorized under phase 3. We now have the staffing capacity after redeploying staff to long-term care or placing on leave to consider these services. Should there be an immediate need by the province or Southwest Public Health to revert to phase 2, we will only offer the phase 2 services listed in this report. The service will be limited, and the number of users inside the library at any one time will depend on the number of staff we have available to guide the use and sanitize thereafter. Hours will still be limited throughout this next phase, corresponding to approximately half of pre-pandemic hours. Visits will be a half hour in length during this phase. I have indicated that the county's local municipal partners have not expressed any concerns about the library's plan as the owners of these facilities, but since the date of this report, we have received comments from the town of Elmer that will require us to implement some additional measures. One of them has to do with staging the entry and exit within the building and working with the town on how that's going to happen relative to other uses that are emerging that they may be proposing in that building. We are confident we can address these issues in a timely manner, but we may have to delay our interior opening at Elmer only until we get these issues resolved. But we will keep the public fully informed as we progress. So with all of that, I bring this report forward for council's consideration.
Thank you, Brian. I've only heard good comments about the pickup service. It seems to be working well and everybody seems to be satisfied. So thank you for that report. Questions or comment for Brian on the libraries? Just scratching your head, Grant? Okay. No questions or comments? Mover and seconder for Brian's report, please. Jaguar and Jones, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French. Yes. Councillor Jaguar.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Jennifer, you're doing the 2020 amortization variance? You're muted, Jennifer.
There we go.
There we go.
Yes, Mr. Warden. Through you, Mr. Warden, to members of council, according to the PSOS handbook, amortization is included in the statement of operations to represent a percentage of the historical value of an asset's life cycle that is used for the delivery of service in the current year. Amortization is then removed from the statement of cash flows and is referenced as a non-cash item. It is replaced on the statement of cash flows with the value of the actual acquisitions in the current year for reporting purposes. In line with this, council's tax deliberations are also based on the cash flow of the 10-year financial plan, meaning that the taxes set by council are influenced by the capital budget and not the amortization budget. The amortization budget for 2020 was forecasted to be $10,763,075. After further analysis, the actual amortization is coming in at $11,043,013, which represents a shortfall to the budget of $279,938. A model is in progress for this line item that will enable further detailed analysis of assets prior to budget approval to minimize the need for in-year changes. However, post-budget audit reviews may still identify a need for capital cost reclassification. The current non-cash variation in amortization creates unnecessary distortion to any reported deficit or surplus on operations, and additionally may affect decisions made by senior management and council. For this reason, staff are recommending that an in-year adjustment to amortization be made to match budget to actual for this current budget year, which will have no implications on taxation. The recommendation is before council. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jennifer. Questions for Jennifer on this report? Seeing none, mover and seconder to receive the report, please. McPhail and Jones, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jaguar.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Jim, you're doing the next financial update? You're muted, Jim. That's better.
All right, thank you. Yes, I am, Mr. Warden. So the report before you takes you through the performance and the financials for the month of August. In August, we had unfavorable performance of $22,000. COVID was one of the reasons behind that. In addition, we had an ambulance service. There were delays to the start of the enhanced service, which will be starting in September, or started in September. That gave us 43,000 of favorable performance in August. That was offset by unfavorable performance that we had in engineering, with municipal drains coming in higher than we have had historically. And as I said, the COVID resulted in unfavorable performance. However, I'm happy to say that we will be seeing that completely offset in the month of October, and we just got notification today that we've received the almost $1.3 million from the province for the Safe Restart funding, or known as SRF funding. This funding was designed to allow municipalities to survive this COVID period, and there is additional funding available if required. However, from our preliminary estimates, it shows that we should be good, even with COVID continuing through the middle of next year, with the 1.3 million provided by the province. And as such, we will not be eligible for phase 2 funding that the province has announced and is accepting submissions for those that are in dire need, and with the money provided in phase 1 not being sufficient.
Oh, Jim, we lost you back when you, probably about a minute ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
What was the topic at the time?
SRF application-based funding.
SRF? Okay.
Part 2.
Yeah, so with the SRF, we actually received notification today that the 1.3 million that the province has promised for SRF funding, or Safe Restart funding, was received. This money from the province is designed to help municipalities weather the storm of the pandemic. Our initial estimates show that with this funding, even if the pandemic continues through the middle of next year, that we'll have enough money through the SRF phase 1 to survive that period and have sufficient funding to cover the costs. As such, we will not be eligible for phase 2 funding. The province is currently accepting submissions for municipalities that did not receive enough money under phase 1. Next, take you through the debt, the debentures that we've previously spoken about. Council had previously agreed to taking $12 million of debt in 2020 through Infrastructure Ontario. We were going to do that in 2 phases, with $6 million being taken early this fall, and the remaining $6 million later in the year. You'll see there on page 149 at the bottom the timeline for the first $6 million. So we will be required to sign some debenture documents, a confirmation rate letter, on October the 20th. Mr. Warden and myself will be signing those documents with the permission of council. Then on October 27th, I'll be bringing a debenture bylaw to council to be passed. And then the document says November the 2nd. However, we're going to change that to November the 16th. We will be then signing and closing the final debenture to receive the $6 million. So the recommendations before you are that the report be received and filed, that at the October 27th council meeting that we present our plan for the SRF spending, and that the warden and treasurer be authorized to sign the interest rate confirmation letter from Infrastructure Ontario, and that a $6 million debenture bylaw be passed on October the 27th. Thank you, Mr. Warden.
Thank you, Jim. Question for Jim on the financial update. Seeing none, there's a recommendation before you. Moved by Martin. Seconder. Jones, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden. 9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Brian, you're doing the Beeks Bridge?
I am. Good morning, Mr. Warden, members of council. As identified in the county's 2019 biannual bridge inspection report, Meeks Bridge was recommended for replacement in 6 to 10 years based on its existing poor structural condition. Accordingly, the county has completed a municipal class environmental assessment study, which reviewed alternatives for the replacement of the Meeks Bridge structure. Based on the results of the study analysis and evaluation, alternative 3, being the replacement of Meeks Bridge, was identified as a preferred alternative and proposes the use of the existing Acro Port Bruce temporary modular bridge as a replacement structure, given that a new structure is currently being constructed at Port Bruce as we speak. Subject to and upon receipt of council's endorsement of the project file, the study project file document will be placed on public record for the mandatory 30-day public review period. The recommendations are before you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Brian. Questions for Brian on this one? Brian, when do you see this happening?
Through Mr. Warden, we anticipate tender to be released later this year, early in the new year.
So the bridge will be coming out in 2021?
For the construction to occur in 2021, correct.
Okay, thank you. Question, Tom?
This is,
Obviously, one of the interesting developments, only the virtual members are still here. And we've lost county council. I assume everybody else is in the same position. They're almost back.
There we are, Brian. The intent is to expand the temporary bridge to allow 2 lanes?
That is correct.
Okay, all right, because certainly, even if you take the walkway out, there's not enough room though. Tom?
I guess the question was, is that necessary since it's been a 1 lane for years and years?
Through Mr. Warden, through consultation with the public and based on the comments received, there was an overwhelming desire to see that bridge expanded to accommodate 2 lanes of traffic, and hence the recommendation as proposed forward by SEMA.
Grant?
I know from my own experience, towing a trailer, if you're coming from Union and coming up to that bridge to make the right-hand turn onto the bridge, because of sight lines, you get your nose out onto the bridge and there's a car halfway across the bridge already. Now you got to back up, and it's a problem. It's a big problem.
Yeah.
Well, that's just what I was going to say. I know the sight lines are terrible, so you can stop and then you pull out, as Grant said, you don't have to have a trailer. You can pull out and there's a car coming halfway across the bridge because it's straight from the south going north, but it's a 90-degree turn with lots of trees, etc., going to when you're heading south.
Okay. Any other questions for Brian? Okay, there's a recommendation from Brian on the Meeks Bridge. Who's in second with that? Jones? McPhail? All in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchupon.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. And Brian, you're doing the pre-ordering of bridge parts?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden. As per the project file, the municipal class environmental assessment project file recommendation as just discussed, the Port Bruce temporary bridge is manufactured by Acro Corporation of America, will be repurposed at the Meeks Bridge site and modified to accommodate 2 lanes of traffic to fit the existing site characteristics. Accordingly, both our consultant, SEMA Canada Incorporated, and staff recommends that the county pre-order the additional required materials from ACRO at a cost of $204,180 excluding HST to be supplied directly to the future bridge replacement contractor necessary to commence material fabrication to ensure its availability as soon as the contractor is engaged and to avoid additional contractor procurement costs. With that, the recommendations are before you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Brian. Questions for Brian on this one? Seeing no questions, mover and seconder for the recommendation, please. Jagger. Jones, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French. Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Once again, Brian, you're doing the parking bylaw?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden, through you to council. Staff has received a concern from a resident regarding parked vehicles east of Drake Street on Sparta Line that obscure sight lines sufficient to safely enter onto Sparta Line. Staff's review confirms the site restriction and therefore is recommending to prohibit parking east of Drake Street for a distance of 80 meters as shown on the attached map. The recommendation is before you. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Brian. Questions on this one? So, did you have a question, comment?
Yeah, just one comment. Brian, you had the no parking signs on Sparta Line in Sparta, and someone has removed at least one, and there were cars parked there the other day. So it might be something, it's not too far east of my driveway. It might be something you want to look at.
Thank you, will do.
Any other questions or comments? Mover and seconder for the report, please. Martin. Seconder. Jones, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French. Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Iona Road speed limit reduction, Brian.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden, through to County Council. The County of Elgin has received the attached request from the Township of Southwold to reduce speed limits on Iona Road through the hamlets of Iona and Iona Station from 60 kilometers to 50 kilometers as shown on the attached maps. Staff does not object to the requested speed zone reductions. However, simply reducing speed zone damage will not necessarily alter driver behavior. Therefore, subject to council's endorsement, to ensure compliance with the reduced speed zone, staff is recommending that the OPP also be notified and requested to enforce these areas. It should also be noted that minor description changes to the bylaw are being recommended to better reflect the reduced speed zone limits. The recommendations are before you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions for Brian on the speed limit? Tom?
Just a comment from Dutton Dunwich.
Okay.
We're also endorsing the reduction of the speed limits in Iona and Iona Station.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Tom?
I certainly can support this. It made me wonder, I had last week 2 text calls from residents on East Road in Port Stanley. Certainly the mayor can agree, I believe, how built up, if you haven't driven down there in the last 3 years, it just seems like they're building a house a day. And I wonder if this would fall, if we had a request from Central Elgin, would you be looking favorable to that as well?
Through Mr. Warden to Councillor Marks, we'd certainly review that upon receipt. Happy to do so.
Thank you.
I got Grant and then you, Tom. Grant?
Yeah, normally Iona and Iona Station, Dunwich and Southwold share costs, and I was hoping that maybe Councillor Purcell would offer some assistance with signs.
Yeah,
Wow.
we'd be happy to help you out.
Yeah, I just wanted to reinforce what Councillor Mark said about the East Road, it has always struck me, it's 50, then it goes to 60, and then it goes to 80 for a very short distance till you come to a stop sign. And that has never made sense to me, especially with all the houses going in. To me, I would like to see that. I know even the 60 concerns many of the residents there with all the new houses. So it'd be nice to have it consistent, especially right to the new fire hall.
Huh?
We actually may even have an opportunity to discuss that with our council at tonight's meeting.
Yes.
I probably won't forget it by then.
Any other questions or comments? And there's a recommendation before you from Brian. Mover and seconder for that.
Purcell.
Moved by Purcell, seconder Marks. All in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchum.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Once again, Brian, the road salt management plan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wardens, for you to County Council. In 2004, Environment Canada published the Code of Practice for the Environmental Management of Road Salts. The code's objective is to encourage responsible use of road salts to ensure environmental protection while maintaining roadway safety. The code applies to municipalities who use more than 500 tons of road salt annually, and those qualifying municipalities must create a salt management plan that contains best management practices to protect the environment from the negative impacts of road salts. The County of Elgin, in collaboration with its local municipal partners, are committed to maintaining roads during the winter season in accordance with provincial regulations. Winter control activities utilizing road salt is necessary to achieve this goal. Previously updated in 2014, the county's salt management plan has been updated in consultation with our local municipal partners and serves as a resource and a guide for road authorities across the county to determine and work towards the most effective methods to maintain safety for road users while managing the effects of road salt on the environment. The recommendations are before you. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Brian. Questions for Brian? Ed?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden. Brian, does the updated guidelines have implications for the current inventories that our municipalities currently have?
Through Mr. Warden to Councillor Ketchbaugh, in consultation with local municipal partners, so we don't believe there are, no.
Thank you.
Questions or comments? Brian, I know we're far more efficient than we were 10 years ago because of the technology on the trucks. Are we seeing, I mean, you have to have an average. I know some winters are worse than others and you can't compare one year to the next, but over a 10-year period, are we seeing a reduction?
Through Mr. Warden, we are seeing with the advancements of technology in the vehicles, as you noted, we are, and again, as you noted, there's some seasonal variations there. Certainly, application of salts is top of mind with operators now more so than ever before. So we are seeing some reductions, but again, it's very difficult to determine given every winter season varies so drastically. So.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. Mover and seconder for the road salt management plan. Jones. Marks, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchbaugh.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Julie, you're doing the Woodlands Conservation Bylaw?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to members of council. This report seeks to summarize the feedback received at the meeting held on September 22nd. The recommendations are that this report be received and filed, and that staff be directed to proceed with housekeeping amendments to Bylaw 0503 for review by County Council at a future meeting. Additionally, this report seeks direction from council with respect whether council wishes to conduct a full data analysis which considers return on investment. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Julie. Julie, on the investigation on full return for amount of money we spend and for the the job, what advantage would that be? I mean, it sounds like something that's very involved.
It would involve some staff time, yes, to complete that analysis. It was recommended as one piece of feedback, along with considering less expensive alternatives, which would follow the analysis. So the analysis would give council more information to explore other alternatives to Woodlands conservation bylaw or the methods we use for prosecution.
Well, I'm satisfied with the present conditions under Jeff's contract. I guess we'll open it up to council if they seem necessary to do this analysis. Dominique?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Warden. And as we're about to share all of our comments on this item and provide direction to staff, I would like to take the opportunity to remind ourselves of the lovely video that we watched at the beginning of the meeting and the strategic plan that we've launched. Going live and going public with the strategic plan means that we have to walk the talk, and it means that we need to continuously align every analysis, every comment, every decision with all the components of the strategy at all times. And that includes this decision about this bylaw. And already, based on our last conversation on this item, I see some potential flaw in the alignment. Let me explain. We've made it clear in our strategy that we would invest wisely, we would commit to a healthy environment, and we would find creative ways to meet the needs of the community. Yet we know that conservation through bylaw enforcement is costly. This has been stated by staff, who said that this bylaw cannot be enforced consistently across the county because of the resources that it costs. We know that conservation through bylaw enforcement is probably the least creative way to meet our community needs for a healthy environment. We know that not seeking the community's help in finding a more creative solution goes right against what we committed to using as a performance measure in the strategic plan. You should also be aware that when we use words like, we will only hear from the same people who object, we automatically dismiss the ideas of almost 10,000 people who have moved into Elgin County since 2002, when we last discussed this bylaw. We exclude people like me who are willing to engage and contribute positively, and we disregard 18 years of research in conservation behavior. Just to put that in context, 2002 is 18 years ago when Facebook, Twitter, Instagram did not even exist. There are new and different voices in Elgin willing to participate in this conversation in new and productive ways. Everything worth doing is time-consuming. We did not commit to a strategic plan that was easy, full of quick wins and housekeeping items. On the contrary. So the point I want to make for the record is that if we do not revisit this bylaw now, I want our constituents to know that as far as I'm concerned, it is not because there's nothing new to hear. It is not because there's nothing new to learn. And it's not because there's nothing to improve upon. If this is not the right time, the right moment, it doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. So I will commit to finding a better, more timely opportunity to engage the community on this, and perhaps as part of other policy reviews. I will recommend that the cost versus outcome analysis be done at that time. Thank you.
Okay. Sally?
I understand certainly, and I agree. I think it is a very important thing. I do agree. The one thing I will say is when we change the slope stabilization, that aspect that just applies to Central Elgin in the Woodlands Conservation Bylaw, we held public meetings. Now, obviously, just in Central Elgin, we held one in Belmont, we held one in Port Stanley. In Belmont, we had 2 people show up, both running logging operations. And in Port Stanley, we had about 5 people show up. We were very disappointed in the turnout, considering a lot of people had felt quite strongly about this, but it was only objectors that showed up. Those in support didn't come, which really concerned me. But we did go ahead and put that in place just so people can't just inadvertently cut trees on whatever property, whether it's theirs or someone else's, on steep slopes in Port Stanley in particular. But I certainly agree that we wanted to, I know we've had a difficult time enforcing, certain ones keep coming back to us year after year after year that the person hasn't done what they were supposed to do, et cetera. So I know that there has been difficulty for our officer that deals with this, and Mr. Gibson as well, in trying to get these things done. And that takes time and costs money as well. So I would agree with Councillor Jiguer that at some point this does need to be looked at.
Okay, thank you, Sally. I think the last time we went over this, we were looking at minor adjustments such as taking the hyphen out from Dutton Dunwich and reference to the OMB, which doesn't really exist anymore. So I see this as minor adjustments. And certainly I think the majority of council at this time thought we could do this in-house without consultation. But if Councillor Jiguer wants to put a motion forward that we want to change that position, she's more than entitled to do that.
That is not my recommendation. My recommendation is that we look for another timely opportunity that is integrated and more cost effective. So I know there will be other regulation policies, official plan that we will review. So I would recommend we do it at that time, but we definitely commit to engaging the community on this and ensure that there are more than 2 people who show up. And there are new different ways to engage, and that's a commitment we've made in the strategic plan.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? We do have, Duncan?
Just quick, through you, Mr. Warden, to Councillor Jiguer. So what, if I'm understanding this correctly, you're recommending that we just sit on this until times are more favorable to have more public engagement?
Correct.
I need to talk to Steve. I think the bylaw needs to be updated. I think that's the question we have at the present time. I don't think we can just leave it until we do an official plan amendment. Julie?
Through you, Mr. Warden, I believe considering Councillor Jiguer's suggestions and her feedback today, it's really not in contravention of the recommendations that are before you that are included in my report. So staff, with council's direction, would still proceed with subject-specific revisions or housekeeping revisions and present those along with a revised bylaw for council's consideration at a future meeting.
Okay. Is everybody satisfied with that?
Yeah, I would agree. We need to move ahead with the recommendations. I do think we need to study this further. Some aspects are not working well now. We'd have to figure out a better way of doing things for the future. But yeah, at some point when staff have more time on their hands, obviously they don't right now. I would agree with the recommendations.
Any other questions or comments?
I can clarify, Mr. Warden. I totally agree that the housekeeping matter should be looked after, and that, but as an interim measure. And I wanted to ensure that we were not excluding or eliminating the need to reopen this and review this. So it is time, not this moment right now, but it is time. So I want to make sure that the review stays on the table.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Warden, to members of council, we could amend the recommendations to include that council consider including a review, including public consultation as part of County Council's 2021 action plan to support the strategic plan.
I'm good with that. Everybody consensus?
Mr. Warden, if it makes sense, because I think what makes sense is to integrate it with other related policies. So if it's in 2021, so I don't know if you want to commit to a date or you want to frame it as when it's possible to integrate it with, and to ensure that the public engagement process is cost effective, that we don't go 3 times on 3 different policies that are closely related.
Okay, so as amended?
I think we can just take out the strategic plan 2021 action planning for council and.
At a future date?
Yes.
Okay, so as amended, this will be reviewed at a future date, and everybody's happy with that, so mover and seconder then. Fail, Jagger, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. All right, internal communications, Julie?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to members of County Council. The purpose of this report is to seek Council's consent to issue a request for proposal for a full-service web development firm to plan and build a secure portal for staff and councillors. And this would be an intranet. And an intranet is a staff and council dedicated website is the best way that I would describe this. So it provides one central place to store all corporate documents and ensures that council and staff can search quickly and easily for information that exists across the corporation. An intranet would save on email clutter and would direct staff to one site for all corporate updates, policies, and procedures. And the challenges associated with relying on email for these purposes has really been highlighted throughout the pandemic. Development of an employee and council intranet will cost approximately $70,000. It is recommended that council consider funding the intranet through the one-time assistance provided through the Ontario government through the Safe Restart Fund. And additional information will be included in regard to funding at the October 27th meeting when council considers all of the COVID-related costs. So the recommendation is that staff be directed to draft and issue an RFP, following which council would have the opportunity to say yes or no to a proponent, given the costs that are received through the RFP process. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Questions for Julie's on her recommendation? Grant?
I know several of the boards that I sit on already have portals now. And is it going to help with some of the issues we've been seeing over the past 6 months?
Not sure, without knowing the specific issues, I think those may be a different set of issues perhaps. The real issues that I'm facing are that we're relying on email to communicate critical information about health and safety information. So that's what's really been highlighted through the pandemic. So we're plugging up people's emails with, at the beginning of the pandemic, what was daily emails with rapid flowing information, with attachments of policies and changing information. So instead of having to send out a new mask procedure last week, I would have been able to just post a new mask procedure with a banner, and it's the first thing that staff and council see when you open your email or when you open your laptop. So there's your intranet, everything's there. Hopefully we would be able to post council's agendas onto the intranet as well. You'd just be able to log in, access it there, so we wouldn't have the email storage issues that we've had, where over the weekend we get emails from councillors that say we're unable to open this because of the file size. So I think it'll really streamline a lot of the administrative work that we do as well. Myself and my team receive a lot of emails from staff that say, you know, I can't find that policy about sick time. Could you send it to me? So we would post all staff policies, all council policies. You'd be able to quickly access your code of conduct, procedural bylaw, everything that you need in one central location. From my own personal experience, each municipality that I have worked for, we've had intranets, and it has really streamlined business. And while we've tried to save those costs over the past 3 years since I came to Elgin County, I see that it's costing us a lot of staff time and energy. And I think it will help increase morale over time because staff will be able to engage with each other using the intranet and be able to self-serve and meet their own information needs. So after careful evaluation of the pros and cons and I think the possible return on investment in this initiative, I very strongly recommend to council that we proceed with an intranet for staff and council.
No?
I'd be happy to move this. I've spent the first 5 or 10 minutes here. Seems every time I get a package from Carolyn, I've got an email back that won't open and end up 2 or 3 emails and you get a bunch in between you. I'm just looking all the time. It's broken up into 3 and 4 things. So I really think this would be a good thing.
Dominique?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Yeah, I fully support this initiative. I'm actually surprised that there wasn't one because I can't think of anywhere I've worked in the last 20 years that didn't have an intranet exactly for all the reasons that you described, from security to communication to effectiveness. So the only thing I'll say is that because those have been around for a while, there are a lot of best practices. I have seen a few projects that have gone way overboard and too many bells and whistles and costs. And so I would say that in selecting your provider, select someone who's done this many times in many organizations and knows what in the end the features that don't get used. It always happens. So there's lots to learn out there, and this is great to see it's happening. Thank you.
Sally?
I was also, I agree. I sit on hospital board, which has used this all along. The biggest thing is to make sure that you get a provider too that doesn't, like, that one has frozen or cut people out and there are issues with them. So it's very important that maybe you get some references as to who is using it.
Any other questions or comments? There's a recommendation before you from Julie. Mover and seconder for the recommendation. Marks, Jagger, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Are you doing the next one or Steve there, Julie?
I am, Mr. Warden.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you to members of council. This report recommends that council authorize an increase in the billing rate for the county solicitor to $195 per hour effective January 1st, 2021. And further recommends that the CAO be directed to send notification of this increase to the City of St. Thomas, Elgin's local municipal partners, and Catfish Creek Conservation Authority. It is important to note that billing rates for county prosecutor and county solicitor are considered on alternating years. So this is the year 2021 that we would consider increasing county solicitor, and in 2022, we'll consider county prosecutor again. And so that's how the sequencing goes moving forward. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Questions for Julie? No questions, comments? Mover and seconder for the report, please. Martin? Seconder, Jones, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes,
9-0, the motion is carried.
thank you. Strategic plan, Julie?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to members of council. This report seeks council's approval for the strategic plan 2020 to 2022 performance measures and reporting template. It would be helpful to receive direction from council with respect to the frequency of reporting to council using the template, if following approval of the template. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Questions for Julie on this? Duncan?
Mr. Warren, through you, what is your recommendation for timely?
Through you, Mr. Warden, I'd say quarterly.
Okay. Dominique?
That is your recommendation?
No, I forgot to include it, which is why I said it's still outstanding.
Yeah, I was trying to remember our discussion around that, and we talked about it could even be less often, like maybe 6 months, unless there were items that were going off track. So it could be quarterly, just if there's something going off track. That was one suggestion, to be mindful of the time that it takes. So that's one possibility.
Julie?
I think We've been kind of sporadically reporting on the staff action plan. So if we agreed to quarterly for the council action plan and performance measures updates, as well as the staff action plan and performance measures updates, then council and the community are well aware 4 times through the year what's happening, and council can quickly identify any misalignment with your plan or with the staff plan.
Everybody's happy with that one? Okay, so as amended? Okay, any other questions or comments for Julie on the strategic plan? Mover and seconder for the recommendation then, please, as amended. Petchaba, Jagger, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones is absent. Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
8-1, the motion is carried.
Thank you. And once again, on the COVID-19 business planning?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to members of County Council, this report summarizes the county's operational response to COVID-19. The county has adopted a cautious approach to reintegrating staff into the workplace and reopening our facilities to the public over the past several months. As of the end of September, all staff who were off on declared emergency leave have returned to their normal service areas or a hybrid of reassignment and normal service areas. The county administration building remains open by appointment only. Provincial Offences Administration remains open for in-person ticket payments. Elgin County Archives and the Heritage Center reopened to the public mid-August. And Elgin County Library is offering curbside pickup at all 10 branches and will be expanding that service at most locations commencing October 19th. Reopening of county facilities has been gradual, and we are strictly adhering to all public health guidelines. Following the Premier's announcement that the province has entered a second wave of the pandemic, we'll continue to prioritize and support the health and safety of our staff, residents, and the community. Admin staff continue to split their time between working from home and working from the office. Staff generally have adapted well to the changing work environment, and it is only through the hard work and dedication of our staff across the corporation that we've been able to offer full services, although sometimes in a modified format, to our community. So I'm proud of that. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Questions for Julie on this one? Seeing none, mover and seconder for the report, please. Jones, Martin, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Next, we'll go on to correspondence. There is a request from Dutton Dunwich in regard to Miller Road and Ionis Road. Bob, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, Mr. Warden, thank you. All we're looking for is for County Council to direct our roads departments to just work with us on a proposal to put in a crosswalk. Where it exists right now is the public school is directly across from the entrance to our park and our community center. And we put in extensive paved walking paths plus a lot of amenities that the school is using. In addition to that, our largest new, almost sold out subdivision is on that side of the road, which has created a lot more child traffic walking through the park and on the walkways over to the school. So we think it's probably time to look at putting that crosswalk in. We realize it will be at our expense, but we wanted some help getting all the facts right, making sure that the school board and everybody else is aligned with it. And also, we think maybe the county might help with procurement and end up with a better price that way. So all we're looking for is direction to let Brian go loose with our folks and come back with a proper recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Bob. And that was going to be my question on who was going to pay for this. I know Malahide put a crosswalk in and we funded it, so it's only fair that this carries on throughout the county. So any other questions for
Mr. Warden, we'd be more than happy to start a new pattern in Dutton and let the county pay for it. That's what
Sure you would.
Trendsetters.
Questions for Bob on this one? Basically, there's a recommendation to turn this over to Brian for a report. So mover and seconder for this one?
Purcell.
Moved by Purcell, second by McPhail. All in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchabah.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Next item of correspondence is a letter from Debbie Francis. And this is in regard to the cannabis grow operations, which is really out of our jurisdiction. This is basically Ag and Foods baby. And so has nothing to do with us particularly. I know Central Elgin's had some issues across there from the airport, but it's kind of out of our hands. We can certainly support sending this on to the province, but other than that, Tom?
It is out of our hands, and that's unfortunate. You know, we represent as elected people our ratepayers, and they come to us, and it seems almost, that's the only thing we can say is that we have no say in it. And that is unfortunate. I had a couple of calls, I imagine Mayor Mark did on the weekend. Season is late there at the airport, not to pick on them, but apparently the smell is pretty bad. And we had a great weekend, Thanksgiving weekend. A lot of people are outside, whether they're cutting grass or just enjoying their backyards. And we have residents who weren't able to do that. And I feel sorry because we're unable to do anything about that. I don't think it's fair. And it's even exasperated if there's ones that are illegal, but this one is highly regulated. And one of the comments I heard that this year is their first, and they intend, if they're successful, to grow and grow and grow. And if they plan earlier, instead of having this couple of days where they have some unpleasant smell, it's going to start earlier. And if they have more acreage, it's going to be pretty bad. So I really feel sorry for them. So I would certainly support sending something off to the upper levels and say, you know, I certainly don't agree with it. Put it somewhere where it's not bothering people who are there first.
Okay. Sally?
This whole thing is about illegal one though, and it's not about legal ones. This one at the airport is following all the legal regulations. I agree it's a problem. I certainly drove by during the week last week and could smell it from Highway 3 very clearly. So, and with a strong smell. It does make it difficult for people, but I mean, even sending this in, this is all we're doing is enforcing that we want some control over illegal ones. We have no say in the legal ones if they're following all the rules the province have set.
Tom?
Doesn't mean we have to agree with it, and perhaps we could put that comment to them that if we're bothering ratepayers who've been there for years and years, maybe I don't agree with that. I'm not against the growing of cultivation of cannabis. It's many health benefits, but we're affecting people.
Thank you. Just to reinforce Councillor Martin's comments, this is targeting the illicit or the illegal operations. And unfortunately, from a municipal point of view, no, you can't track it. Health Canada will not indicate or give you any indication who is a licensed operator and who isn't. There are many of them up and down our concessions. You have no idea until the fall comes along and all of a sudden you have a permeating odor of skunk in the air, and it's unfortunate. But how do you police this? The police won't even look at it. I don't even know if there's a connect between Health Canada, who offers the licenses, and even communications with the provincial police. I assume there is, but there definitely isn't one with the municipalities. They're not going to be told. So it is a problem. Norfolk County, I know, is championing the issue with Health Canada. They've got a big problem in Norfolk. And I would say that though it may not be as prevalent here, it could be. And so whether the action of council is to forward this on to Health Canada or whoever it is, I have no idea. Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs will throw up his hands. He has in the past. I believe they'll refer it back to the federal government, say you created the problem without putting the proper steps in place to allow enforcement. It's a Health Canada product. It's not an agriculture product. So whatever council wants to do, but it's a problem. Kelly?
Just one other concern is there's a lot of industrial hemp also now being grown, and it is not, like, there isn't the regulations that it does create very much the same smells. And that's another thing that we almost should include in, that there should be some distance regulations or something. I don't know if there's anything that can be done, because we do have quite a bit of industrial hemp in Elgin County, and you certainly can smell that as well.
My understanding regarding industrial hemp, there are regulations in place, and those who are doing it above board might as well. I mean, there's no recreational opportunities with industrial hemp, but there are weekly, rogings of male plants out of the system, so that you don't have that propagation taking place, and you don't have the cross contamination with the cannabis in the area as well. But it's this stuff. There could be a crime element with it, as well as a nuisance element with it. And those who are trying to observe and grow it according to regulations, observe zoning bylaws, good for you. But there are many of those out there who are just thumbing their nose at you and carrying on. So?
Just one final comment. Well, we did a tour of the one at the airport. And one of the things that the fellow who's heading that up said that they have been very much threatened by biker gangs.
Yeah.
And they have a very secure fence with electronic entrance, et cetera. But they even with our tour, they were very concerned that some biker gang person might try to sneak in on the tour, et cetera. So they've been having a real problem with a lot of threats.
So I'm getting the impression that we endorse this with an addition saying that both levels of government need to look at this. I mean, there's a minimum separation distance between a hog barn and the residents. And so how, they're not addressing the legal and illegal grow operations in Ontario. So I think both levels of government need to look at this. And so I'm suggesting that we support this letter, and with an addition that they examine the legal operations and the minimum separation distance between residents and where these are growing. See consensus?
Let's support that.
Okay, so moved by Jones. Oh, so Julie?
Just wondering if there's any value in sending this along to the chair of the Elgin Group Police Services Board as well?
Certainly.
Part of the distribution list.
Would you like that handed to you?
Thank you.
So as amended, we'll send this along to the Police Services Board for in Elgin as well. So I've got a mover, Jones, seconder, Marks, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail?
Yes.
Councillor Purcell?
Yes.
Councillor Martin?
Yes.
Councillor Marks?
Yes.
Councillor Jones?
Yes.
Councillor French?
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer?
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba?
Yes.
Mr. Warden?
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Next on items for information, we have 7 items for information. Anyone wish to make Sally?
Item number 2, the Rural Education Task Force. This is the one that I sit on your behalf. Dominique is the alternate for that one. And the last meeting, you'll see the letter in here, we had to vote on this. It was unanimously supported. And they have asked that local municipalities also just endorse this, to endorse the fact that they want, northern or rural schools, acknowledge that the importance of them to their community, the strengthening of integrating with school boards and municipalities, like working together so that, I mean, they have consulted us as a county for years, but it often seems like they ignore everything that we say at those meetings as far as school boards. So it's important that school boards and local municipal councils, county councils work together to make sure that schools, where they're needed, it's viable And they also put this, they have asked the moratorium to be maintained on closing rural and northern schools for the time being. Again, it's there in place. They just want it extended.
Good. So you're suggesting we send this on to the lower tiers?
Well, I think we should endorse it because we're the ones that are consulted by the school board. It's not the lower tiers. So I think we should endorse this.
Are you also suggesting we send this on to lower tiers for their support?
That would be, I think, a good idea, certainly. The more people, the better.
Any other questions or comments on number 2? So there's a suggestion that we receive or support this at the county level as well as send it on to our lower tiers for support as well. So I'm assuming you're moving that, Sally?
I would.
Seconder? Jagger, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Okay. On the balance, is there anyone wish to make comment or support? Seeing none, receive and file the balance of the correspondence. Jones, Ketchba, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
For the motion is carried.
Thank you. Other business, any statements or inquiries by members? Yeah, Tom?
Is this under new business?
Yes, other business.
I've grumbled in the past about traffic, speeding, et cetera, and I just spend a lot of time talking to residents. And I believe it's also probably a county problem as well as just a central Elgin problem. Driving around over my daughters and walk her dog, et cetera. In her subdivision, there's various things and like speed bumps, et cetera, and traffic they're all issues that can be costly, but low cost things. A couple things that I've noticed is the movable radar signs. Couple of gear clamps, you put them on a post, put them in a spot and move them around. Wonder if they'd be of value. The other thing that I'm thinking of is lawn signs. If you go down an area that's built up, if there's construction, whatever, you quite often see signs that said, drive like your kids live here. That one always gets me. And I wonder if there would be, I was gonna bring it up tonight at Central Elgin, but throw it out to now whether we make these available to people. Like we're talking like an election sign. I'm assuming $10 sign. We bought a lot of them. Make them available to residents. They look after them, they put them on their guard, whatever. Kind of a constant reminder, very low cost in my opinion. I wonder if there's any appetite here if we offer that.
Well, certainly the radar signs makes quite a bit of difference. That's the OPP own that, do they not? And they.
Our community policing groups own.
All right, and because I've seen them move around from small community to small community, and often it's from an 80 down to a 50, and unless that sign is there, often people don't slow down at all. But I certainly endorse that one. As far as the individual signs, my opinion, that's up to the property owners if they want to put that one of those on their lawn, and I would encourage them to do so in the future. But whether that's a county-driven objective, I'm not so sure. Sally?
There are groups out there right now. You probably have seen them. At least there are several around Sparta that slow down. And they're on various people's lawns coming into the village, et cetera, going out of the village on both sides of the road. And they're on road allowance. I don't know if Brian has anything to say whether they have any permission or not, but most of them are on close enough to the road that they're on road allowance. But there are groups out there that are really encouraging that and giving out these signs to people that just say slow down or putting them out. I don't know if they're just putting them out. I know they've gone up in the last month and a half in Sparta.
Grant?
If you look closely, a lot of them have CAA at the bottom of them. So I'm assuming you're a member of CAA, they're offering them to you.
Any other comments or questions? Julie?
We can provide a follow-up report at the next council
Okay.
meeting that
Certainly.
examines where the signs are coming from and what solutions are in place in certain local neighborhoods and what the costs would be associated with an endeavor like this.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Okay, notice of motion. Matters of urgency. Well, we have a lengthy closed session for the following reasons. Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing with a letter regarding parkland dedication, development charges and community benefits and charge authority. Sorry. Of the closed meeting, Director of Human Resources, Municipal Act 239-2, the labor relation and employer negotiation, seeking mandate for collective bargaining with ONA. Number 2, the county solicitor, Municipal Act Section 239-2C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administration tribunals affecting municipality or local boards. F, advice that is subject to the solicitor-client privilege, including communication necessary for that purpose, improvements of Centennial and Elm verbal report. 3, the county solicitor, Municipal Act 239-2E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality of local boards. F, advice that the subject is to solicitor's client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Proceeding before the Ontario Energy Board, verbal report. 4, county solicitor, Municipal Act 239-2E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local boards. F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communication necessary for that purpose, deforestation orders. 5, Chief Administrative Officer, Municipal Act 239-2B, personnel matter about identifying an individual, including municipal or local boards, employees. D, labor relation or employee negotiation, surveillance testing, long-term care homes. 6, Chief Administrative Officer, Municipal Act 239-2K, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiation carried on or to be carried on behalf of the municipality or local boards. Medivy, EMS, Ontario, contract renewal and contract administration and oversight adjustments. 7, Chief Administrative Officer, Municipal Act 239-2D, labor relations or community negotiations, shared services. 8, Chief Administrative Officer, Municipal Act 239-2D, personnel matter about identify individual, including municipality or local boards, employees. D, labor relations or employee negotiation, corporate communications. And 9, Chief Administrative Officer, Municipal Act 239-2B, personnel matter about identifying individual, including municipal or local boards, employees. D, labor relation or employee negotiation, service delivery review. So we need a mover and second and move into close, and we'll have a short recess, and then we'll come back and start the closed session. So,
Mr. Warden, according to my agenda, you missed one. It deals with the easement for land ambulance services.
EMS?
Yeah. Is that a revised agenda that the warden has, or?
Not sure. It's item number 4.
Yeah.
Did I miss number 4? No, that's number 4. I've got reforestation order.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Whether you have a revised agenda according to what I've got on electronic.
Ours says easement of land ambulance.
Okay, well, I've got the land ambulance is number 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think I read them all, though, did I not?
I read 9. Well, I have 10.
Oh, what? And I've missed one. Well, I got the thing. I should have the same thing.
believe that the one.
I don't know if it matters or not, because it's probably covered. I'm not sure which one I missed then. Number 4. Okay, well, number 4. All right. Number 4 on this one is County Solicitor Municipal Acts 239-2C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipalities or local boards, place that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, easement for land ambulance service, verbal report. Okay. Difference between the written and the electronic, but at any rate, I think we've covered 10. So are you moving that, Grant?
Yeah.
Okay. Move for close. Jones, second. Ketchabah, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes. So we'll have a 10-minute recess and then we'll come back and close. Thank you. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, move, rise and report. Mover and seconder. Ketchabah, Jones, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Now we need a motion to adopt the recommendations committee of the whole.
We'll go through each of the closed session items first.
Okay.
The mover and seconder. So for in-camera item number 1, seeking mandate for collective bargaining with Ontario Nurses Association or ONA, be it resolved that staff proceed as directed.
And seconder? Marks? Jones, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yep.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Item 2.
For in-camera item number 2, improvements at Centennial and Elm, be it resolved that the verbal report from the county solicitor be received and that staff proceed as directed.
Mover and seconder, Martin? McPhail, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Number 3.
In-camera item number 3, proceedings before the Ontario Energy Board, be it resolved that the verbal report from the county solicitor be received and that staff proceed as directed.
Thank you. Mover and seconder? Ketchabah? Jiguer, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Item 4.
In-camera item number 4, easement for land ambulance services. Be it resolved that the verbal report from the county solicitor be received and that staff proceed as directed.
Mover and seconder? Martin? Jones, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Is it number 5?
Yes. In-camera item number 5, which is reforestation orders, be it resolved that the report from the county solicitor be received and that staff proceed as directed.
Mover and seconder? Jones? Ketchabah, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
Councillor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Number 6.
In-camera item number 6, surveillance testing long-term care homes. Be it resolved that staff proceed as directed.
Mover and seconder? Martin, Marks, favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Jones.
Yes.
Councillor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer?
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba?
Yes.
Mr. Warden?
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Number 7.
In camera item number 7, Metabee EMS Elgin, Ontario, MSO, contract renewal and contract administration and oversight adjustments. Be it resolved that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received and that staff proceed as directed.
Mover and seconder. Fail. Jones, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Number 8.
In camera item number 8, shared services. Be it resolved that staff proceed as directed.
Mover and seconder. Jones, Ketchba.
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Number 9.
In camera item number 9, corporate communications. Be it resolved that the verbal report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Mover and seconder. Jiguer. Marks, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
And Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
And finding number 10.
In camera item number 10, service delivery review. Be it resolved that staff proceed as directed.
Mover and seconder. Jiguer. Jones, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Okay, that deals with all the closed. Motion to adopt recommendations, committee of the whole. Martin, Ketchba, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Bylaws.
Be it a first, second, and third read of bylaw 20-50, being a bylaw to amend the schedule to bylaw number 20-05, being a consolidated bylaw for the regulation of traffic, including parking on county roads.
Mover and seconder. Jones and Martin, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Another bylaw?
Be it a first, second, and third read of bylaw 20-51, being a bylaw to amend the schedule to bylaw number 17-11, being a bylaw to authorize speed limits.
Mover and seconder. Marks. Jones, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
Counselor Ketchba.
Yes.
Mr. Warden.
Yes.
9-0, the motion is carried. Second and third read of bylaw 20-52, being a bylaw to confirm proceedings of the municipal council of the corporation of the county of Elgin at the October 13th, 2020 meeting.
Mover and seconder. Jones and Martin, all in favor?
Deputy Warden McPhail.
Yes.
Counselor Purcell.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor French.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Thank you all for participating. We didn't do bad. I thought it'd be longer than this, actually, to be honest with you.
I know, yeah.
Councilor Martin had to change your dentist appointment. It's a good thing.